Hello, folks. This is your host, Lower Bound Rocks here. And again, I guess you could call it projecting my own thoughts on the next coming banner, which is the E Pluribus Unum Pickups 3 Summon. In this banner, we'll be having a chance to draw, pull, whatever you want to call it, for Berserker Kugelain, or as you want to call him, Ku Alter, and Thomas Alva Edison, who happens to be a caster. So, without further delay, let's jump right into it. A 5-star and a 4-star. Simple as it can get, right? Kugelain Alter. At max, his attack is 1,205. Anyone can, again, not going to read this over if one can check it online. Pretty much get to the, I guess you could say, short and point of it. To roll, not to roll. Again, same as before. If he's your husbando or anything of the sort, and again, not to completely overlook Thomas Edison, one or the other or both are your husbandos, again, roll for them. I'm not going to comment on their art. I could. Their art looks, well, again, if I'm being, let's say, partial to this, I'd say Kugelain's art looks a lot better than Thomas Edison's. But again, people might like the idea of the whole lion motif going on behind there. So again, don't let me stop you from bashing him. I'm not saying that I won't roll for Edison, because there's a good chance I might end up getting more Edisons than getting Ku Alters. But again, if you're rolling for the husbando, go for it. Don't let me stop you. But at the same time, if we're comparing stats, it's one of those things where, since most people, I take it, are probably sitting on the fence of whether to roll or not, I'd say go for it. As far as servants go, we're looking just at the 5-star. Kugelain is a monster to be reckoned with. And not just because he's your standard berserker and they tend to do raw, obstructive amount of scene damage, but he, in particular, is one of those berserkers that can survive. He hits with the intention to kill and also live to tell the tale, so to speak. Among other berserkers, I guess you could say, he has his guts capability, along with a buff that powers up his attack, I believe. Also along with a buff that applies him, I believe, protection from light arrows, which is similar to Kugelain's. The only difference is, though, that it only protects from 2 separate attacks, which means, unlike Kugelain, which protects against 3, 2 is the max limit, and that's all he'll ever get. Which, again, it's both a good and a bad thing. But again, it's one of those things to balance him out, because without it, he'd be near impossible to kill. Not totally impossible, but he's still killable if he's, again, your only berserker. And yes, many people, like I said, are probably sitting on the fence because, for one, how do I put it? There is no, I guess you could call it, line in sight of when are we going to receive Joan of Arc Alter. For all we know, she could be the next banner coming up after this one ends. And if everyone decides to throw their course just to obtain Ku Berserker, not even obtaining, they won't have any for Joan of Arc Alter. And you know what? Utter regret right there. But again, if you're a whale, again, I'm going to go for both of these servants. But if we're mitigating between which one I would probably lean more towards, it's one of those things where, again, Ku Berserker, as far as I've seen, he is going to have, well, at this point, it's not even safe to say we're going to have similar banners to Japan. So, at the very least, if you want to have a powerful servant, again, he and Joan of Arc are, I guess you could say, you can alternate between the two. The only difference with both of them is Ku Berserker is weak to everything. But at the same time, he's not that easy to kill. He has, I guess you could call it, more survivability than anything else compared to Joan of Arc Alter. But again, you're comparing two different servants here who serve almost, I guess you could say, near identical purposes, in that they come in to destroy single target with both of their phantasms. But in the case with Kugelain, he has more survivability, and therefore, I guess you could say, more to offer. It's not to say that, okay, strictly throw all your course for him just to obtain 2 copies and forget or perish the thought about obtaining Joan of Arc Alter. Again, that's not what I'm saying at all. All I'm saying is, if you feel that if you're caught between the two, neither one is better. Well, again, while they may serve the same purpose, ultimately in the end, it's who you really want. because, again, not to completely overlook Thomas Alva Edison, he's there in the same banner, so I'll get to him in a second. As you can see, Cuchulainn, he has an alluring look to him. King of madness and ferocity. With his spear, he leaves behind a trail of corpses. Anyways, not to get completely distracted, right? Let's not get too distracted. In any case, though, like I said, though, roll for the servant with the intention that he's going to be one of your powerhouses, and you intend to work on him. Again, like Joan of Arc Altar, they're both going to require more or less some of the newer materials, actually a good chunk of the newer materials. So, again, be prepared to raise his skills and his levels. Also, take into consideration that because he is a berserker, he comes with a standard berserker deck. Although, again, that means he might have some difficulties charging. That's about it. But aside from that, though, that shouldn't stop anyone from using him as a, what you could call him, one-hit wonder. But even then, like I said, he has survivability. So long as he's able to stay alive on the battle, he more than likely can charge. Same applies to Joan of Arc Altar. But again, we're not going to turn this video into a discussion of 1 versus 1 to see who's out better. It's whether to roll or not to roll. Again, on the highlight perspective of being husbando and likable in terms of his art, I say, you know what, go for it. Same rules apply, right, as the previous video I made with Queen Mem. And in terms of potential, unlike Queen Mem, I'd say he's more worthwhile to roll for, because not only does he bring more to the table, he does that, and I guess you could say brings dessert as well, if you want to compare it to, I guess you could say, bringing more and then some. Either way, though, as far as rolling in the upcoming banner within the next 2 days of the making of this video, I'd say go for it. Roll for the Child of Ireland. Is that what it's called? The Child of Light? One of those two. And like I said, I'm not going to completely overlook Thomas Alva Edison. And it's not like I want to overlook him. Like I said, he's a caster. He's an AoE caster. As you can read right there in the description for his Noble Phantasm, deal heavy damage to all enemies and inflict MP seal for 1 turn and skill seal for 1 turn, and decrease critical rate for 3 turns. And again, as with all casters, they have the 3 arts cards, so charging his Noble Phantasm is no problem. And again, more likely than not, if you're rolling for Cuchulainn, there's a good chance you'll be receiving Thomas. But again, there's always the wrong luck possibility method, and you might end up receiving more of Coup Berserks and no Thomases at all. But who knows? We'll see. We'll see indeed. So, pros and cons, we've already discussed it, I guess, in a nutshell. Again, if he's your husband, roll for him again. Same as before with the last video. Reiterating again. And as far as stats go, Coup is a green flag all the way, folks. Don't let it stop you just because of the fact that he's a berserker, that, berserkers are glass cannons. He's no ordinary, quote-unquote, glass cannon. This berserker is meant to survive, just like his lancer counterpart. And I guess you could say his caster counterpart, although caster's just kind of there, story summonable only. But again, we're not going to discuss that right now. In any case, though, this is your host, Lord Valrox. I wish you good luck in the coming days as we approach for when the time comes that one can roll for Cuchulainn Altar. Do take care and good luck. Any questions, feel free to leave if you have any questions, feel free to drop a comment, drop a like if you like my thoughts on the matter. And subscribe if you want to keep yourself updated with any more of my, I guess you could call it, the humble Lord's words. Do take care.